Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the OCG and Mafia guilds, and I want to teach you a strategy that I use for my portfolio when I have a specific amount of funds that I want to put into a project. And when I do that, I know that I'm not going to be able to pick the perfect time, the peak or the valley of a specific market. And so I'm going to want to take that risk and distribute it over time. So I'm going to teach you how to do this, and hopefully this is useful and you can use it in managing your own portfolio. With that in mind, this is not financial advice. It is purely for educational and entertainment purposes. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. I pulled up just an Ethereum chart for the last 180 days from CoinGecko, just to give an idea of what kind of volatility you're going to be dealing with in a market. And so in the last 180 days, there's been some serious volatility in the market. And to be able to pick the perfect spot to have bought or sold Ethereum in any of these time periods is extremely difficult. You have to know a lot about technical analysis and spend a lot of time watching charts, listening to the news, knowing what world events are going on right now, little micro effects that are happening inside the market, the crypto market versus the stock market, the currency on a global basis, where inflation is, are there any major announcements being made by any major company or countries. And so instead of having to hyper focus on all that stuff, especially if you don't have the time to do so, to spread out your risk of getting that pick wrong is extremely powerful in the long-term investing. And so the way I do it and use dollar cost averaging is I take a set amount of funds, let's say $10,000, and I break that up into the amount of time that I want to spread it over. So if I were to spread it over an entire year, I would take my 10,000 and I would put it in small increments, which ends up being about $833, 10,000 divided by 12. And at specific points in the month, I would purchase the asset that I want to get into, regardless of its price. And that's dollar cost averaging, is having it set on the calendar. It takes a lot of the emotion out of FOMO or FUD, and it gives you a much more level playing field when you're picking over that large period of time, because you could have bought Ethereum somewhere around 4,700 and then bought it down at 2,400. This was not so good of a buy. But if I had put all $10,000 of my capital into that, I'm feeling pretty bad at the end of this. But if I've put some in here and I've put some in here, we level out and have a good purchase price versus a great or a bad. And when you don't know all those different criteria that goes into picking the right time to buy, then dollar cost averaging is a great way to increase the safety. And so going to just a quick chart, what I usually do if I have a set amount that I want to see exactly when I'm going to put it into the market and pull out how much to get ready, I'll do this. I'll put together a quick spreadsheet just to keep things nice and neat and organized. And that's always an important thing when looking at your finances. So if I had funds of $10,000 and I was going to dollar cost average over the course of a year, I would have the 12 months. Let's say I started in January of this year. I would have put $833. I would have converted into something like UST or USDC in the dollar form, and I would have it ready to go so that I can purchase ETH on the 12th of January. And then every time we come to the 12th of the month, then that is the time that I put another $833 into ETH. And so over here on this date, I put down the price that I purchased ETH at. So it was selling for 3,378 per ETH. Well, in February, it dropped down to 2,918. Then to 2,579, and then just April 12th, it was 3,006. Okay, so I experienced a slightly higher buy. I bought during the dip, dollar cost averaged, and then it started coming back up a little bit. And so none of those are the perfect point, but on average, instead of putting all $10,000 in at a rate of 3,378 per ETH, I'm averaged out at about 2,970. So it's a better purchase price, especially if there's a lot of volatility and you're not sure whether you're buying the peak or the valley. And now I have, several more months to go through and do this. And my funds are still sitting there ready to go. In the meantime, you could use a DeFi protocol or something like that to make returns on your funds that are sitting there waiting to dollar cost average in. So you don't have to do nothing with it. You can be productive. But this is how you make it more regimented and disciplined. Now, if you wanted to tweak this just a little bit from pure dollar cost averaging, which if you don't spend a lot of time with the markets and don't know all your technical analysis and you're not really involved in world news and the currencies, then I would recommend, or the way I do it is dollar cost average and just stick to that schedule. If, however, you know what you're talking about and you want to tweak that, you have the ability to say, all right, this is 833. I think this is towards the top and we're having a peak and something's happening in the world and I'm not feeling super confident. So you can take a few dollars off of that and put it down into your next purchase if you think you're gonna go over the peak. And instead of 833, maybe you put in 500. But the point is that you put in something that you dollar cost average, that you add to the position on a disciplined regular basis. You can put a little bit of knowledge if you follow the markets and are confident in your own skills and your abilities, while at the same time spreading out the risk over a long period of time and responding to obvious scenarios that can benefit you. So that's dollar cost averaging and a slightly modified dollar cost averaging for people that are experienced. But if you can use that, then you'll be a whole lot safer going through and making purchases in a given market, especially if it's a new market with high volatility, as is the way of crypto. Again, this is the type of tactic that I use, and if you find this helpful or you think you know somebody that could use this, then go ahead and share. Otherwise, screw the algorithm. You don't have to like or subscribe. I just want this information to get to people that can really use it. So if you can do that, then today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.